If you're ready to experience more peace and joy in your life, if you want to feel more comfortable in your own skin, and if you're ready to discover and expand on your energetic gifts and personal power, you're in the right place. So here's your host, Kelle Sparta.
Welcome back to Spirit Guides. I'm your host, Kelle Sparta, transformational shaman, spiritual business coach. And I am here, as always, with my best friend in Boquete, Panama, Katherine Loranger. Loranger, right? Yeah, I'll get it. So, and she is a spiritual business coach as well. Hey, we are going to do some business planning for you. We're going to do some visioning and putting together your plan for next year.
We're not going to do it for you. You're going to actually be doing it, but we're going to guide you through a process to do it.
Yeah. And this is Katherine's zone of genius right here. So Katherine's going to be carrying the weight for most of this episode. And I'm just going to be asking the questions that I hear you guys asking as you're listening to this episode, because this is the eternal moment of now. And even though we're recording this before you will ever hear it, I am tapping into the oneness point and listening for when you guys are going, what? Wait, but this, but that. And so my job here is going to be to ask the questions that you can't ask because you're listening after the fact. So, all right. With that said, I'm going to hand it over to you, Katherine, and let you do this. And just so you know, guys, this is going to be a do it as you go. So you probably, if you're driving or something when you're listening to this, unless you want to listen a second time, you may want to put this on pause until you can get someplace where you can actually write stuff down, because Katherine's going to take you through a process that is going to allow you to actually lay stuff out for yourself. And so this is going to be hey, do this, hit pause. And then here's the next step, hit pause, right? So you may want to be someplace where you can take advantage of that. Okay. Take it away, Katherine.
Okay. So I want to preface this by saying that this is typically a process that I take 2 days to do with my clients. So we, at the end of the year, we will actually take 2 full days to go through this and really deep dive into a whole bunch of stuff so that they're set up for January. And the reason for this is that so many people go into the holidays and it's just, it's holiday craziness, right? So you kind of wake up and you're like, what am I wearing? Where am I? What's going on? I don't understand. And then it's, maybe middle or end of January or February before you finally start to think about, okay, I should get my shit together here and kind of get a plan and figure out where I'm going. So this way, by doing it before the holidays, you can actually relax into just enjoying your time with family and friends or yourself or whatever that is, knowing that you've actually got a structure in place for the start of the new year so that you can then hit the ground running. So this is not going to take you 2 days. I'm not giving you the full meal deal because we don't have time to do that, but you are going to come away from this with a really clear vision for your business for 2025. You're going to identify your top 2 goals. You're going to have a calendar of events for the year, and you're going to have a detailed work plan for the first quarter. So what we're going to do to start, and everything, this, if you've been listening to the podcast, everything starts with the vision. If you don't know where you're going, you have no possible way of getting there. So in the show notes, there is a link to a guided vision meditation that I've got for you. So it's about a 14-minute vision meditation. And this is what we're going to start with. So you can, in terms of this podcast episode, you can either listen to the whole thing the way through and then go back and actually listen and pause and do. Or you can just listen and pause and do as we're going. It's totally up to you. But as Kelle said, there are going to be, a fair amount of points where I'm telling you to pause the podcast, do the work, and then come back to the podcast.
So I do have a question.
Yeah.
Do they need to listen to the vision meditation before they listen to the podcast?
Well, that's going to be the first step of the podcast, actually.
Okay. All right. So my bad. I jumped the gun.
No, it's all good. It's all good. So it starts with the vision, right? And so this guided vision meditation is going to help you identify not just what you think is possible, but what you would actually love. And of course, the podcast is about spiritual business and business and energetics and spiritual business practitioners and all of those things. But you don't exist and your business doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's part of a full life. So when you're listening to the meditation, it's actually going to guide you through 4 quadrants. So your time and money freedom, your health and vitality, your love and relationships, and your vocation or creative expression. And so the business is really going to go into that vocation, creative expression. And then, of course, the time and money freedom is going to be a result of that. But as people, we don't want, a successful business at the cost of our health or our relationships. And often what I find is that people can get into either or thinking like, oh, if I'm going to build a business or create the business of my dreams, then I need to sacrifice all these things. And so we want to let that go, right? And what if you could actually really, really create what you would love? So you're going to pause in a moment, not just yet, but I'll tell you when to pause. So in a moment, we're going to pause and you're going to listen to the vision meditation. So again, it's in the show notes. I'm just going to take you to like a download page. You're going to have to sign up. You can always like unsign up later. It's just kind of how my system has it set up. So you're going to listen to it and then you're going to take 20 minutes. I know that sounds like a lot. So the vision meditation itself is about 14 minutes, and then you're going to take 20 minutes and actually write down in crystal clear clarity everything from the vision. And you're going to start it out by saying, so you can write this down right now before you pause the podcast. I am so happy and grateful now that, because think about it, like if you were living that life, how would you feel? You would be just like on fire with excitement and gratitude and happiness and joy. So we know that everything is energy and vibration. So we're wanting to start to embody the vibration of it's already done. Okay. So your first step is to, when I say pause, you're going to pause, but not just yet, is going to be to pause the podcast, listen to the vision meditation. Again, it's in the show notes. And then once you've listened to it, take about 15 to 20 minutes to write down everything that emerged for you. And you want to make sure that you're covering off the 4 quadrants. So again, your time and money freedom, your health and well-being, your love and relationships, and your vocation or creative expression. And then once you've done that, then you can come back to the podcast and I'll guide you through the next step. So pause now, listen to the meditation, do your writing, and then come back. Okay, so good job, good job, good job. And what I find is that if you've never done this before, it can actually feel a little bit challenging to really allow yourself to dream and imagine what you would love. So good job on taking that first step. So now from the written vision, and the written is like really, really important. The next step is that you're going to identify potential goals for the year. So you're going to look through all of the things that you've written down for those 4 quadrants, and you can get a highlighter, you can get a different colored pen, you can, if you've got it on your computer, you can highlight it, whatever, and just go through now in a moment and highlight all of the things that could be potential goals, right? So this is, we're not worried about numbers or anything like that. And again, if you think about a goal, it's something you can measure. So pause now and go through and identify all the potential goals. Okay, so good job. Now, notice if you actually identified in there some of the things that are more of the hows, because that can be really, really common as well. So now the next step is you're going to look at those goals and you're going to pick 1 or 2 only. And there might be a part of your brain that's thinking, whoa, but I want it all. Yes, absolutely you do. But what happens, and there's actually research to support this, is that when people focus their energy on more than 1 or 2 goals, the energy gets diffuse and they actually have a less chance of accomplishing any of them. So because this is a business related podcast, one of those goals is going to be a business goal. And with my clients, often what I find is that it's either business and relationship or business and health. Those tend to be the 2 biggest topics. So for a business goal, how do we measure success in business?
Money.
Exactly. Exactly. So that business goal is going to be a money goal. It's going to be a money goal. And we're thinking again, I forgot to say this at the beginning here, but we're thinking with the vision, we're actually starting to think 12 months out. So at the end of 2025, it's New Year's Eve, you're celebrating with the people you love the most, you're looking back and you've accomplished some things. And so identifying now and seeing, did you actually write down a dollar value in your vision? Or were you reluctant, right? And that gives you information that tells you your comfort level with money or not. So, yeah, Kelly.
So my question is that as I was thinking about my money goals, it came out as a monthly figure. Should we be doing an annual figure or a monthly figure?
So we're going to start with an annual figure and then we're going to break it into a monthly figure.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. 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 So we want at the end of the year. And the reason for this is, we're going to kind of get into this in a minute, is that there might be ebbs and flows in your business. So depending on your business model, you might be going through launches, you might be in product development, you might have actually scheduled time off where you're not actually working on anything. So we're gonna identify that goal first, and then we're gonna go in and actually build a calendar. So really, really hold yourself to the fire. What is that money goal for your business? And just write something down. And then notice how it feels. So when you've written that number down, checking in with your body, checking in with your nervous system, does it feel like, easy? This is what I'm already doing, right? And if that's the case, then that's actually you're not stretching enough. Like you're right? The vision is there to support you in the stretch and the growth and the becoming of who you were meant to be. So if the goals are things where it's like, I know exactly what to do and I've already done it and I've already got a concrete plan, then it's not quite big enough. So say for an example, you're already doing 100 grand a year and you put like 110, woohoo, right? An extra $1,000 a month. And you're like, yeah, easy peasy, I got that. That's not big enough. That's not big enough. So at the same level, if you're making like $100,000 a year currently, or $50,000 or, $30,000, and you set your goal at 5 million a year, that's a little bit too big, right? So your nervous system, your body, and again, so to be clear, there is a way that could happen, but your body needs to be able to believe that it's possible. So you want to be in the stretch. Yeah, Kelly, question?
Yeah. So what if your goal is a monthly amount that you've visited but not sustained?
Yeah. Yeah.
But would that be okay?
Absolutely. Yeah. Because that monthly amount is going to represent a growth in, right? So you touched it, but you haven't actually stabilized at it yet.
Okay. So that counts as big enough.
It counts as big enough. Yeah. It counts. So when you think about that, okay, let me actually back that up a little bit. So when you think about that monthly amount, does it feel like I know exactly what to do and this is going to be really easy?
No.
Okay. Is there a little bit of like, I would love that, but I'm not quite sure exactly how that's going to happen?
Yeah.
Perfect. That's the perfect. Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what we want, right? Because what we're doing here is we're learning how to partner with the infinite. We're learning how to partner with the universe, with our spirit guides, with the quantum field, which already knows how to make it happen, right? If you can imagine it as a possibility, it means that it exists out there in the time, in the kind of multiverse in the universe as a possibility for you. Here's the thing: if you can't even imagine it, it's not meant for you, right? So one of the other things that sometimes people will ask is like, oh, well, I feel greedy if I'm having this revenue goal, and maybe that's like a bad thing. But here's the thing: like if you can imagine it, it means that it's for you. It means that it's for you, right?
I need to hop in here because this is one that I deal with my people all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Look, the amount of money you have is the amount of good you can do in the world.
Mm-hmm.
It is a way to expand your impact and your reach. It is a way to improve your giving. It is a way to bring yourself up to a state where you can give at a higher level for your energy because you're caring for yourself in a better way. Income is not a problem, people. I just want to say that. Income is necessary. Money is a vehicle through which we accomplish our goals.
Yeah.
And whether that's because we take care of ourselves better, whether it's because we can pay for more advertising, we can donate more, we can, whatever it is, but it is a vehicle and it is an energy. And so you got to let go of those limiting beliefs, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. And we did do another podcast talking about some of those limiting beliefs. So just want you to know, like, if you're noticing that you've got some of those limiting beliefs coming up, like, high five, good job. It means you're a human being, right? Like, it means you're in the stretch. And again, the vision is meant to stretch us and grow us. And so anytime we start to step outside of our current kind of quote unquote normal or comfort zone, it's going to feel uncomfortable. So if you're feeling uncomfortable a little bit, it means you're doing it right. It actually means you're a freaking rock star.
Yeah.
You're like ass on this. So good job.
Yeah. That's actually one of the things that I tell my students is, if you're not uncomfortable, you're not doing anything.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Right. And so with this work and sort of the people who are listening and not watching, because of course this is video and audio, I'm kind of demonstrating with my hands that we've got like a comfort zone, and you can imagine it's like the circle around us, right? And the work here is that we want to stretch the comfort zone. You can think about like blowing up a balloon, or you can think about, I had a client who had a bakery and she talked about like kneading dough and making pizza dough, and you want to like stretch the dough and then you want to let it rest. Like, right? If you stretch it too far, too fast, it'll break.
Right.
So we're the same with our nervous system. Is we want to lean into the stretch, we want to work into the stretch, and then we want to actually give ourselves time for that to integrate. Right? Because if it doesn't integrate, and Kelly, this comes back to your question around the monthly revenue, if it's not integrated, it's not sustainable.
Right.
Yeah. So one of those goals is going to be a dollar value, and you want it to be believable, but stretchy. So you're not going to go from, and again, this is possible in the universe of all, to be clear, right? It is possible to go from $10,000 a year to $1 billion a year. There is a way for that to happen. But if no part of you believes that could happen, it's not going to happen for you. Right? So we want to find that, and I think it was Katherine Zankina Manifestation Babe where I first heard the term, the ladder of believability, right? So you want to actually be on a stretch, but you want to have part of it be believable. So again, you're going to pause in a moment, go back through that vision, highlight potential goals. You're going to pick one or two only, and one of them is going to be a dollar value related to your business. So pause now and select your top 2 goals for the year. Okay, good job. So we've got a vision. The vision is a full spectrum vision for your life. And here's the thing, right? Some people will get a little bit worried about, I've got to like work on all the areas, right? And then they kind of like freak themselves out and it gets to be a bit overwhelming. The person in the vision, so the person who has the business success, they're linked to the person who has the health and vibrancy, right? So when you work on one area or you focus on one area, you're much more effective because your energy is directed. It's the difference between like a pressure washer and a watering can, or a laser and a flashlight or a candlelight. So when you have that power of focus, you're actually going to be able to live into and experience and achieve your goal much more effectively. And the version of you who has that goal also has those other things. So the rest of you is benefiting, like the other parts of your life are benefiting by virtue of you stepping into that goal. So you've got your vision, full spectrum vision, you've got your 2 goals. Now what we're going to do is you're actually going to create, and this is like the most funnest part, I think, is the calendar for 2025. And so what that looks like is you're you're creating a calendar, and I like to have a big wall calendar with dry erase markers. I've also, you can like print out free calendars from different online templates and just like use pencils or whatever you want to do. But the idea is that you want the full calendar for a year that you can see and touch and interact with. And now you're going to spend quite a bit of time. So generally I give my clients like an hour to do this. So plan to give yourself some time. We're going to come back to it. It's not like you have a one and only chance to do this. And you're going to create a calendar for the year. When you do that calendar, you're putting the important things first. And so what I mean by the important things are holidays, their birthdays, their retreats, their training, their anniversaries, their trips, their adventures. So you're really thinking about what are the like really juicy, fun things in my life? And I mean, why are you in business? Why do you want to make more money? Generally, it's because people want more freedom, right? Freedom to do what? Freedom to travel, freedom to spend time with friends and family, freedom to, go on the retreats and the training and things like that. So when you put those things in first, what you're doing is you're actually creating a structure, and you are taking control over your time and your calendar. So what happens so often, right, is that we get stuck up in the busy work and we never actually do the things that make the difference. Or we say things like, oh, well, I'll take that trip if I have the money or if I have the time. I'll have to wait and see. And what happens is that we wait and see, and it never happens. And I remember one of the best examples of this for me in my own personal life. Yeah. So my previous business, very multi-million dollar business, lots of team members, just a lot of kind of variability in terms of work. And so had some friends, and they were going to Paris. And he was a teacher teaching marketing course there. And they had this Airbnb in the first arrondissement, which is like if you haven't been to Paris, it's like the very center of Paris. We could walk like to Notre Dame and the Eiffel Tower and the Louvre and everything. And they asked us, they're like, we have an extra bedroom. You want to come to Paris? And the initial knee-jerk reaction for me, well, I don't know. We'd have to wait and see what's happening then. We'd have to wait and see if we can afford it or if we can take the time off. And I was like, wait a minute. No, no. So we just said, yes, we're in, right? And then wouldn't you know it, and this happens all the time, by the way, life rearranged itself to support that trip. So by putting the important things first in your calendar, life is going to do that for you. Okay, so pause now, and I'm just going to give you, we're not going to do the full calendar yet, but pause now and take as much time as you need to put the important things. So again, the trips that you want to take, birthdays, anniversaries, holidays, retreats. Yeah, Kelly, question?
So like for me, I want to reduce my hours per day. Would I be putting in time off in the afternoons or no?
Not yet. No.
Okay.
This is still, we're going to start with like the big brushstroke things, right?
Okay.
So like we're going to Canada in May to see family and visit and stuff. So for me, I would put Canada trip, anniversary coming up. I think you have like a, kind of a significant anniversary coming up this year, don't you?
We already had our anniversary. So
I thought you had your
coming up next year is our 10-year anniversary.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Yeah.
So
and then
2025,
my birthday. Yeah, and we're doing my birthday trip to Medellin in January, and
So those are the things you put in there, right?
Yeah.
So we're not saying like, well, I have to wait and see what's going to happen. We say, no, I'm going to take charge here. This is what's happening. I'm telling the universe that this is what's happening. So pausing now and just putting those important things in. Okay. And take as long as you need to do that, and then come back. Okay. So now that you've got the important things like that in, now we're going to put the work things. Okay. So this is going to be things like, when am I planning a launch? Or if I have a group coaching program that's going on it's like a chronological kind of thing, when am I going to start it? if I have ongoing group coaching, if I have trade shows I'm going to, if I have like new marketing initiatives I'm going to do, if I have
Speaking engagements.
yeah, speaking engagements, if I have kind of like monthly, and I'm just trying to think like depending on if you're brick and mortar, if you're like online or if you're blended, if I have like kind of monthly promotion things that are going to go in, then you start to
Black
put
Friday sales.
Black Friday
Yeah.
sales, you start to put those things in there. Okay. So pause now and start to put those things in there and just again take as much time as you need. Okay, so good job. So now what you're going to do is you're actually going to look at the workability of this calendar. You're going to look at this calendar, you're going to kind of take a step back and say like, "Oh my God, do I freaking love this life?" Or when I look at it, do I feel like I need to like go into a corner and rock back and forth because it's overwhelming and I've overscheduled myself? Because that is a thing that we can do for sure. So if it looks like you've overscheduled yourself, then you want to take another look at it and say, okay, well, how does this feel? Right? Your body, your nervous system is just this really, really sophisticated guidance system, right? That's how you interact with the infinite. That's how you get the downloads from your spirit guides and your intuition. That's where you get those like really like amazing breakthrough ideas. And so you want to check in when you look at this calendar, right? How does it feel? And if it feels anything less than life-giving, exciting, joyous, then you want to go back and you want to modify it. Okay, so take a bit of time and do that now. Okay, good job, good job. So now, and like I said, this is typically it's a 2-day thing that we do, but we're kind of fire hosing here. So now what you want to do is you've looked at that calendar, you've got the important things in terms of your life, your vitality, you've got the work things in there. Now we want to look at those 2 goals that you identified for the year, one of them being a revenue goal, and we want to actually break them down into 3 touchstones. So you can I like the word touchstone because I'm a rock person. I don't know if I've got rocks and crystals everywhere. Another word is a benchmark. And so you want to identify what are the 3, so for each quarter, so January, February, March is 1 quarter. So at the end of March 2025, what is my touchstone or benchmark? So if my, annual revenue goal is $100,000, for example, and at the end of March, what does it look like? And then so March, and then again June, and then September. So you're going to create those benchmarks. And here's the thing, when you look at those, you actually want to look at your calendar. So sometimes what happens is that if you're maybe developing a new program or you have a launch cycle where you're launching once or twice a year, you know that your revenue is going to actually ebb and flow based on those things. So it's not as simple as just breaking it into 4. You're not just going to divide it by 4 and put that there because that may or may not be realistic based on your business model. For some people, it is realistic, but maybe you're planning a 2-month trip to Paris or to Europe. So I guess I'm going to Paris soon because I keep bringing that up. So maybe you're planning a 2-month trip to Europe, right? Or Panama, or who knows where. So you want to kind of adjust the revenue goal to fit what's going on in that cycle. So yeah.
I just want to say, when you're talking about this, my brain is going to a spreadsheet with a cash flow thing going on where I can say, okay,
not
no,
that
you don't,
yet.
not that detailed.
Not yet.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So we're starting
sort of a general guess
big.
of what you think it's going to be.
Yeah. So we're starting big and we're kind of breaking it down. We're getting more and more detailed and granular as we kind of go through the process, right?
Okay.
And here's the thing is that as we're going through the process, we can always go back and modify what we did. Because as we get more granular, as we get more detailed on it, we're going to have greater clarity on the other parts that came before.
Okay.
So those are those again. So there's actually 4 touchstones, but the 4th one is just your goal, right? So at the end of December, I have, my business has generated this much revenue. Okay. So identify those now. Okay. Good job. Good job. So you have your vision for your life, including your business. You have your top 1 to 2 goals for the year. You have your calendar for 2025. And when you look at it, it's like just amazingly life-giving, right? So this is when I have big projects. This is when I'm doing launching. This is, maybe when I'm doing speaking events. And here's the thing about things like speaking events, right? Is that you are not necessarily going to know when those are going to be just yet, because it's like November. Well, we're recording in November. It's December. Like, you can't know what's going to emerge. But what you can do is tell the universe, this is when I would like this to happen. So you want to schedule them into your calendar based on when you would like them to happen, right? So you're telling the universe, this is my order. Another fun thing that you can do, I had a client do this and it was just worked out so well. So she had done her revenue goal, and she had 2 businesses she was working with. And when she put it all together, she's like, yeah, that feels like a stretch, but it feels doable. I'm not quite sure, but it's like there's something missing. There's something a little bit missing there. And so I asked her, well, how would it feel to just schedule in random cash infusion? And she's like, oh my God, I love that. So she did. She just like sprinkled around her calendar, random cash infusion. And sure as shit, that's what happened for her, right? So within like a day or two, and here's the thing too, is that I've also had clients where, the evidence has come, and we're gonna do an episode on faith, belief, and building your trust in the universe. So when things are starting to come in, so say for an example, you have a speaking engagement. So maybe you want to do like 3 speaking engagements a month, and you put them on certain days, and maybe you get like 2 one month and 4 the next. You've got a choice, right? So your choice there is to be like, oh my God, look at me. I'm a badass. I'm like manifesting like a mofo. I'm amazing. This is like so good, right? And what happens is then your vibration raises, your belief raises, you're going to get more of it. The other option is to say, oh, well, I said I wanted 3 and I got 2. So this is BS and this doesn't work, right? And then your vibration lowers, and you're just going to get more of that. So the rigor here is to look for, and again, we're going to do a whole episode on this, is to look for the evidence that this is working. Because as you look for that evidence, as you focus on it, as you celebrate it, as you're grateful for it, you're actually going to amplify it. Right.
Yeah.
And so depending on where you're at in your process, you might already have a practice of doing that. And so that amplification is going to come really easy for you. You might be just like really brand new to this. And everybody was brand new at one point, just FYI, like nobody like came out of the womb. Well, I think we all come out of the womb knowing how to, but we forget. But nobody, like just kind of like was started and then they all of a sudden knew how to do it. So it just takes practice. So you want to build that belief. Okay. So you've got your detailed calendar, you've got your work plan, or sorry, not your work plan. We're going to do that next. You've got your vision, you've got your goals. Now what we're going to do is we're actually going to, and this takes a bit of time too, is you're going to look at that first quarter of 2025. And this is where you start to get down and create that detailed work plan. So when you're doing that work plan, you want to be asking yourself, and a work plan is just kind of the week to week, and you can do it as detailed as you want. Generally, I start it month by month, and then I break it down week by week for each month. So if I say I'm going to do a launch at the end of March, I can start to think about, okay, well, what are the things that I need to do to get that ready? And you can do some brainstorming, right? Do you have a product or a service that you're launching? Do you have, kind of a way to accept payment? Do you have a sales page? And it could be a Google Doc. I'm hearing lots of people are just selling based on Google Docs, right? It could be like a full-on sales page. Do you have a kind of a marketing strategy? Do you have affiliates? Right? So you can start to think about all of those things based on, okay, I've got this on my calendar. This is coming up. So now here's where I start to create that plan. And then you're going to do month by month, kind of, again, you're going from broad strokes to more detailed strokes to really granular strokes. And then you're going to go week by week, and you can even go day by day if you want. Now, when you're doing this, you want to be asking yourself, does this activity that I'm planning, does it generate revenue? because that is your business goal. And so many times we can get caught up in thinking, oh, I need to learn this new thing first, or I need to research this thing, or I've got to answer all these emails, right? And we get caught up in busy work, but these are not actually the things that are going to move the needle to generate revenue. So if you're a spiritual practitioner in some way, you're going to be looking at speaking. You're going to be looking at
social media posts and
some social media posts. I think I find people can get kind of caught up in that a little bit too much too. But if it's the social media stuff, then what's the call to action? So, but a social media post doesn't generally generate revenue. It's from speaking engagements, right? So podcasts, hosting your own events, trade shows, summits, things like that, and then inviting people into a clarity session, discovery call, things like that. Yeah. And it's often the things that are the scariest that we are resisting the most, right? Which is, it's just human nature. So when you're looking at that work plan, you want to ask yourself, how does this generate revenue? Right? How does this generate revenue? So I had another client who wasn't a coach. He had a branding and design kind of marketing company. And so for her, with her revenue goal, which is to move to $1 million agency, her thing was RFPs. That's how business happened in her work, right? So you want to know, like,
RFPs being requests for proposals.
Yes, sorry, yes.
So do not know that term. Yeah.
So sorry. So responding to requests for proposals. And then, okay, so that's the thing. That's the thing. Okay, so then we can look at, okay, well, how do you find requests for proposals? What types of things do you need to have in place to be qualified to do a request for proposal? So like your insurance, not health and safety in that kind of situation. But there's like lots of things that you need to do to kind of get ready to be able to do that. So in that case, some of the work that's happening isn't necessarily like, I'm not going to get $1 for, $1 to do this thing here, but it is a necessary step to actually be able to meet the kind of task to be able to then qualify to do that.
Yeah. So in an online marketing world, that would be things like setting up your Stripe account, connecting it to your shopping cart, and all of the things to actually make the business go would qualify for that, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And to clarify, when I said social posts a minute ago, I was talking about where people put out hey, I'm doing a quick special for a reading, $28, sign up now.
Yes.
Right? That is a revenue producing social post. I'm not talking about random content, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So, like what's the call to action there? Am I just doing cutesy little quote that I spent 4 hours perfecting on Canva? Not a revenue generator, right? But we fool ourselves into thinking like, oh, I got something done today, right?
Yeah.
But it's not a revenue generator. Sorry.
No.
And I've been there myself. So, okay. So I think that's all we have time for today.
Yeah.
Again, just to summarize, what you've got is the detailed vision. You can listen to that vision meditation like again and again and again and again. And what's going to happen is that every time you listen to it, and the more that you connect with your vision, the more clarity you're going to get, the more energy that then goes into that vision, and the greater sufficiency and saturation it gets. So listening to it every day can be incredibly powerful. So you've got your vision. You've identified your top 1 to 2 goals for the year. One of them is going to be a revenue goal if it's business. You've got a calendar for the year. So you actually know what 2025 is going to look like. And if you're one of those people that resist structure, you're like, oh, I want to be spontaneous. Let me tell you. And I have seen so many clients where they're like, oh, I want to be more spontaneous. But when they put the structure in, there's actually more room for spontaneity. Because what happens is that when you've got the structure, your nervous system starts to relax. So when you're relaxed, there's more playfulness and creativity and fun that's available to you. So you've got that calendar of the year. You've identified your touchstones for the year, and you've got your detailed work plan for the first quarter. So then what you're going to do is at the end of the quarter, like end of March, you're going to come back. You're going to reassess, am I still in love with these goals? Because as you start to live into them, as you start to take actions, you're going to get clarity, right? And these are things that we can't possibly know until we actually start to step into them. So you're going to reassess, do I still love these goals? Am I still moving this direction? Happy with the calendar? I've got some feedback now, right? I've been living into it for 3 months. I have feedback. And that feedback is just more information to help me get it even clearer and more zingy and aliveness. So at the end of the quarter, and you're going to do each quarter for the year, review your goals, review your calendar, review your progress, look at those work plans. Did I do the things I said I was going to do? If not, do I have some subconscious blocks, things getting in the way? That's where you might want to reach out for some coaching or support, right? Some accountability to help you move forward. And then you're going to repeat it. So at the end of the quarter, you're going to do this and then do the work plan for the next quarter. And as always, if you have questions about this, because I know this is a lot of information, like I said, I usually take 2 days to do this with people. And even then it feels like a fire hose. Reach out, send us an email, and we could do another episode on it. We're happy to answer your questions and support you in this.
Yeah. And you can do that through Kelle at kellesparta.com. And, I can pass it along to Katherine if you have a message for her. We'll figure that out. I'm sitting here as I'm listening to you. I'm like, we need to get you some coaching sessions up on the way for people to book coaching with you on the website. So we'll get there eventually. So I hope to have that set up by the time this airs. And if so, then I will have a link to that in the show notes as well. And so if not, just email me and I will figure it out for you. Okay. All right. So with that said, if you guys haven't shared this podcast before with other people, this would be the episode to share with all of your friends who are doing any sort of work.
Okay, and this would actually be super fun to do with a friend.
Yes, do it with a friend.
God. Okay, so plan to do it with a business bestie. You can do it online. You can do it in person. Order the dry erase calendar from Amazon, get the smelly felt, get the dry erase felts, have fun with it. Have fun with it. As you were saying this, I was thinking, I'm going to talk to Katherine when this is done and see if we can do this together. So I totally am on board with that. Do this with a friend and, share it so that people, even if you're not in proximity to somebody, because I have a lot of friends all over the country, all over the world. And, I would send this to people in other places too. So if you have not shared an episode yet with your friends who are doing business, who are business owners, and it doesn't have to be spiritual business for this one, it could be anything. So anybody who's a business owner, send this out to them and, do it together. You can do it in person or virtually. And it's better because, body doubling, right? we love the body doubling, right? Right. And amplification of the energy.
Absolutely.
And helping each other believe in each other and what's possible for you.
Yeah. And to be rational, right? Because most entrepreneurs are like, I got a million ideas. I want to do all of them. Blah, 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 blah. And then you're like, okay, the other person's like, okay, I know you wanna, but let's bring it back, right? Let's get rational, right?
That's why we pick 1 or 2 goals only.
Yeah.
That's why we go back to the calendar again and again and again. And we check in with our body to see, does this feel good? Right. Yeah. Because your body's going to tell you that feels like batshit crazy. Like if it's too much, it's going to let you know. It's going to know. Yeah,
exactly. Mm-hmm. So all of these things, right? So share, subscribe, share, rate, all of these things. And then we'll talk to you next time. So don't forget that what you focus on expands and what you intend is what you create. So choose wisely.
So that's it for today's episode of Spirit Guides Podcast. Head on over to iTunes, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen and subscribe to the show. Every week, one lucky listener who subscribes and posts a review on iTunes will be entered into a drawing for a $10,000 value grand prize and a private reading with Kelle Sparta herself. Be sure to head on over to spiritguidespodcast.com and pick up a free copy of Kelle's gift and join us on the next episode.